Why are all the gods such vicious cunts? Where's the god of tits and wine?
Welcome back to the second installment of the Game of Thrones Buzzed Recap series. I'm Daniel.
I'm Chris.
And we're your two average Star Wars fans that also really like other sci-fi / fantasy / sci-fi fantasy properties. And since House of the Dragon Season 2 is coming out in a month, more or less, I've decided, much to your chagrin, that so you've seen House of the Dragon Season 1, but the parts of Game of Thrones that you've seen are only the handful of consequential episodes that I've shown you, right?
Yes.
And so you're like you know that certain things happen, but not necessarily why or like what led to that. So that's what we're doing, right?
So when you had this idea of sitting me down and explaining all of Game of Thrones, my response was, okay, but you got to get me liquored up first.
Yeah, which I'm happy to do. Not that it's liquor, it's Kool-Aid, I think, for the YouTube. I don't want YouTube to get mad at us. So season 1 is up on our YouTube channel. And it's in a Game of Thrones recap playlist, Buzzed Recap playlist. If you've not seen that, go and watch that first. Unless you know what happens, then it doesn't fucking matter. Yeah. Obviously, there are spoilers for what happens in the show. And if you didn't expect that watching a recap in the first place, you're a fucking idiot.
We can't help you with that.
Yeah. So we're doing season 2. We're not going to go through the geography necessarily and like the government structure and everything. I'm going to give you a quick update on where everyone physically is. Okay. So we are going to,
and if you're lucky, maybe even who's in charge.
Yeah. So let's start all the way north and we'll move our way south. Okay. So this is.
So Jon Snow, who famously knows nothing.
Yes. The Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, J.R. Mormont, Jon's friend Samwell, and his friends Pip and Ed.
Okay.
This guy, you can't really see him. I'm making him a little bit bigger. His name's Carl.
Okay.
Carl with a K. And his direwolf ghost. They are north of the wall on an expedition because they're trying to figure out where Jon's uncle Benjen went, and they want to try to figure the White Walker thing out, right? Further south, but still in the north, at Winterfell, Bran is the Lord of Winterfell.
Bran, who we last saw getting pushed out of a window.
Witnessing some hot, spicy incest, by the way. But he's like 9, and he's in charge of Winterfell. He's here with his brother Rickon. And then he's also here with his wolf Summer and Rickon's wolf Shaggy Dog. Okay. And Hodor, who we've not talked too much about. We didn't talk too much about him in the first season because he wasn't necessarily that important.
He looks like a monk.
He's not. Which, by the way, if I leave out a detail, first of all, this has nothing to do with the books, right? This is only the show. And if I leave out a detail, it's likely because it isn't.
It just doesn't matter.
At least yet. But if I really leave something out that I should have put in, put it in the comments. And then if it's something that I wasn't saving for later, I'll probably mention it in the next one. So Hodor is the village idiot, pretty much. He can say one word, and it's Hodor. Okay. So you say, Hodor, what do you want for dinner? His response is going to be Hodor. Something happened to him when he was younger. No one really knows what. But he is huge. Okay. This man is a hulking giant. Let me tell you, Chris, has one of the biggest dicks I've seen in this show. Because of course you see Hodor's dick in one of the scenes.
Sure, why not? It's
massive. His job is to carry Bran around. Okay. Pretty much, right? This is Maester Luwin, who is Winterfell's maester. So Bran's in charge. Luwin's his advisor, right?
Which means that Luwin is actually in charge?
No, because he would never presume.
Oh.
But he is there to give counsel to Bran. And Osha, the free folk wildling that they captured, who's just hanging out with him now. Remember, they caught her because they were trying to flee the White Walkers. Yeah. Okay. Further south. So Ned Stark is dead.
Sucks to be him.
Poor Ned lost his head. His son Rob was like, well, fuck the Lannisters then, and goes to war with the crown.
Yep.
So he's in the Riverlands right now, waging a war. He has Jaime Lannister as his prisoner. He's there with his mama, Catelyn, his wolf, Greywind, and his adopted brother, more or less, Theon Greyjoy.
Okay.
In between King's Landing, not too far out of King's Landing, is Arya Stark, who is another child of Ned Stark. She is fleeing King's Landing. If anyone knew who she was, they'd kill her.
Yeah.
Right. She is pretending to be a boy named Ari.
Okay.
And she is with the Wandering Crow of the Night's Watch, whose job is to recruit people to be in the Night's Watch, or to go to the prison cells and be like, they're going to put you to death. Do you want to be in the Night's Watch? And then be like, yeah. And he's like, okay, well, come with me. So he's a friend of Ned Stark's. And so he's tasked himself with bringing her back to Winterfell. They are joined by Gendry, who is Robert Baratheon's bastard son. And I found a shirtless picture of him because he looks great with the shirt off.
Okay.
Arya's friend Hot Pie.
Okay.
And Arya's other friend Lami.
Okay.
They're kids. They don't do much. Okay. On Dragonstone. Stannis Baratheon.
Yeah, what the fuck's up with her face?
Whose face?
The girl with the fucked up face.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. In fact, some of these characters I won't necessarily introduce right here because they introduce later. So she's one of them. So on Dragonstone is Stannis Baratheon, who is Robert Baratheon's brother. Robert Baratheon was the king. He died. Stannis, his next eldest brother, is on Dragonstone.
Okay.
And company, I will explain later. Let's see. A little further south. In King's Landing, the center of power of Westeros, possibly the world, is under the command or under the rule of King Joffrey Baratheon.
Fuck this guy.
Let me tell you, Chris, this guy's a huge cunt. And you'll find out in the next 2 seasons why. This is his Kingsguard captain, Meryn Trant, his mother, Cersei, his uncle, Tyrion, Tyrion's bodyguard friend, Bronn, Tyrion's whore, girlfriend, really. They're actually in a serious thing, Shay, the Master of Whispers, Varys, the Grand Maester, Pycelle, and the Master of Coin, Peter Baelish. He has his hound, Sandor Clegane.
Sure.
And as their political prisoner, they have Sansa Stark, who is betrothed to Joffrey and who they are keeping as a hostage because if they control her, they control the North.
Okay.
All right. Storm's End.
Yes.
Renly Baratheon. And we discussed last time that he's got a boyfriend, Loras.
Okay, good for them.
And I'll introduce you to these other guys later. And I think that's everyone in Westeros. Over here in
Easteros.
So I told you in the last one, I was like, I don't know what happens over here. Nothing happens over here. It turns out like the whole second season happens here.
Oh, okay.
We have Daenerys Targaryen. Her loyal advisor and knight, Jorah Mormont. She has a small Khalasar of followers. They're a very tiny group of followers. And her baby dragons, Drogon, Rhaegal, and Viserion.
Oh, they're so cute.
Drogon was named after her late husband, Drogo, Khal Drogo. Rhaegal was named after her late older brother, Rhaegar, who was killed during the rebellion. And Viserion is named after her other late brother, Viserys, who
the one Khal Drogo killed.
Yeah. But it was her brother, and she's classy.
Yeah.
And, so she named one of her dragons after him. Okay, so we're gonna start with episode 1, The North Remembers.
Okay.
We should make a drinking game out of this, by the way, at some point.
Every time you say that guy's a huge cunt.
Yeah, well, that would be one of them. Maybe whenever someone important dies. Yeah, we'll figure it out later. Okay, so we are north of the Wall.
All the way the fuck up here.
This is J.R. Mormont's expedition with Jon Snow and company.
And how's that working out for him?
Well, they haven't found much, but they're at Craster's Keep. And I just realized I need my file thing open. Let's see. We're going to go to Game of Thrones characters. I think Craster's in random because he's kind of a rando. So this is Craster.
He's big.
Let me tell you, Chris, this guy's a huge cunt. And I'll tell you why.
Okay.
So Craster's keep is this keep north of the wall that's pretty well supplied.
How do they manage that?
It's weird. But what's weirder is that when you get to Craster's keep, you happen to notice that he's got like 20 or 30 women with him. And it turns out...
I don't think I'm going to like where this is going.
You will not. It turns out they're all his daughters.
Oh.
Now, his daughters all have babies. It turns out they're his babies with his daughters.
I don't like that.
It's real fucking gross. The whole thing is just really, really gross. But like this is a good place for the Night's Watch when they go on expeditions north. They stop at Craster's Keep. It's a tenuous relationship, but Craster lets them stay there because they're mutually beneficial, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the other thing about Craster, oh God, if one of his daughters has a girl, they're allowed to keep it because Craster can make more babies. Ask me what happens to the boys.
I'm assuming they get killed.
No one knows what happens to the boys. Let's just say there are no boys at Craster's Keep.
Okay.
So they get to Craster's Keep. Turns out Craster, Jorah Mormont's like, hey, have you seen Benjen? And he's like, no, I've not seen him. So Mormont's like, there aren't a lot of wildlings around here anymore. Like, what the fuck? And he's like, well, the wildlings are leaving to join the King Beyond the Wall, Mance Rayder. And JR's like, who the fuck is that? And he's like, yeah, I'm sure you'll find out about that enough. So they need Craster because it's shelter and food, but Jon Snow fucking hates him because he's a creep, right?
Yes.
But his mentor, Jeor, is like, look, if you want to lead, you need to know how to follow. And I'm telling you right now, this is one of those relationships that feels real icky that you just have to have because it is what it is, right? So, in King's Landing, look at Joffrey, motherfucker. Okay. Joffrey has his name day tournament. And Game of Thrones, your name day is your birthday.
Yeah.
Okay. And there's a whole episode here. There's a knight called Ser Dantos that shows up and he's drunk. Joffrey sentences him to death on the spot because he whimsically does that all the time. And Sansa, his political prisoner / fiance, is like, you shouldn't do that. It's bad luck to kill someone on your birthday. And he's like, well, fuck you. And she's like, they talk him down from it, right? So instead, he has them force feed him wine until he just vomits wine everywhere. And then Joffrey's like, well, maybe you can be my fool or whatever, right? Tyrion arrives back at King's Landing. Because you might remember in the last season, he was out.
Yeah, he was out doing shit.
Yeah. And he is now Hand of the King. Because Tyrion, or his father Tywin's supposed to be Hand of the King, but he's busy doing a war, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So Tyrion comes back. He's like, I'm Hand of the King. Joffrey fucking, or no, sorry, not Joffrey. Cersei fucking hates this. Because right now, Cersei's in charge, right? And it's her son, so she can kind of like manipulate him into doing shit. So Tyrion's like, sorry, I'm Hand of the King. I'm in charge now. So Tyrion criticizes Cersei with how she's been running things, right? Like the fact that she let Joffrey kill Ned, the fact that Arya escaped. And, oh, by the way, he's not allowed to have his girlfriend there. His father Tywin's like, you can't bring your girlfriend. He's like, fuck you, Dad. I'm taking my girlfriend. So he hides her away, right? Cersei goes and talks to Peter Baelish and was like, look, this is your job. You need to go find Arya Stark because no one knows where the fuck she is.
Yeah.
They have this really weird conversation where she's like, you were in love with Catelyn Stark, right? And he's like, yeah, maybe. And aren't you in love with your fucking brother? And Cersei's like, I might be.
I mean, emphasis on fucking.
Yeah.
But yes.
And Peter's like, it's weird. The knowledge that I have, knowledge is fucking power. And so Cersei has her guards around her, and she has them surround Peter and says, march forward 2 steps, march backwards 2 steps, slit his throat. And a guy takes his sword out and is about to do it. Fucking no questions asked. And Cersei just offhand was like, oh, never mind. I changed my mind. And she's like, power is power, motherfucker. And Peter's like, point taken.
Okay, touche.
Won't talk about you fucking your brother anymore. So we also meet the commander of the City Watch, Janice Slint. And let me tell you, Chris, this guy's a huge cunt.
I feel like you say that about every new character you introduce.
Not all of them, but he definitely is.
Okay.
You will not like him later. Okay. So he leads the city, the City Watch, right? Which are like the cops, they're not the Lannister soldiers, or they belong to the city, to like King's Landing.
They're the dudes who went around chopping off everyone's hands in House of the Dragon.
Yes. So, he leads a town-wide massacre of all of Robert Baratheon's bastards, including all of the bastards that are infants. They go into their houses, in their mother's arms, and murder them with knives.
It's not very nice.
Yeah. So they learn that Gendry, who is also Robert Baratheon's bastard, has left the city. No one knows where the fuck he is. Where he is. Mm-hmm. He's joining the Night's Watch.
I guess.
And they're like, you can find him because he's got this really cool bull's head helmet. And they're like, okay,
sure.
In Winterfell, they're taking the hobbits to Isengard. Bran is in charge. He shouldn't be because he's 9. He's having prophetic dreams.
Okay. That's a little disturbing.
And also having dreams where he imagines that he is his wolf Summer.
That's also a little weird.
And he like prances around and hunts and stuff. So he's here. I already told you about Master Lu and how he's advising him. So Hodor takes him to the Godswood, which I might explain this at a later date. It's a religious thing, but there are a bunch of these. You might remember in House of the Dragon, there's a tree with a face on it. Mm-hmm. It's got like red leaves and shit. That's a Godswood tree. Okay. And Winterfell has a really big one, right?
Cool.
And it's supposed to be some kind of like mystical connection to the gods.
Sure, whatever.
And he talks to Osha, like a recurring motif in this season, in this episode, is that when everyone looks up into the sky, they see a red comet going across the sky. It's like this recurring thing, right? And Bran's like, hey, that's a red comet. That's a good omen for Robb's war. And Osha's like, actually, it means that dragons have come back to the world. And Bran's like, oh, yeah. Bran's like, shut the fuck up. Dragons aren't real. And she's like, fucking the comet says. Okay, on Dragonstone. Stannis has a new friend. Her name is Melisandre. Mm-hmm. She is a red priest and follows the Lord of Light.
Okay.
And she's gorgeous. Mm-hmm. She has a weird necklace that glows sometimes.
Okay.
And Chris, she will show her tits to anyone who asks.
Huh.
Sometimes without being asked.
Okay.
Like you go and meet Melisandre. Mm-hmm. You're like, hey, what's up, Melisandre? I'm Chris. And she's like, would you like to see my tits? That's more or less what she's like. Like,
okay.
She's got the body and she wants everyone to know about it.
Hey, if it works for her.
Yeah. So they are out in front of the Castle of Dragonstone on the beach, burning heretical statues to the other gods.
Like you do.
Yeah. The maester of this of Dragonstone is real offended because it's his religion. Mm-hmm. He attempts to poison her. He puts like poison in her drink. And then she drinks it right in front of him and just stares at him. Nothing happens to her. And then he dies. So like,
I like her all right.
She's got some witchy shit happening, right? Okay. So Melisandre has proclaimed that Stannis is the champion of the Lord of Light. And that he's prophesied to do something prolific, right?
Whatever.
So Stannis' other advisor is Sir Davos Seaworth. And this is a really interesting like this is a really interesting thing because Sir Davos used to be a smuggler, and Stannis caught him smuggling and cut all of the fingers on his right hand off as punishment, and then was like, "Do you want to be my advisor?" And he's like, "I mean, I guess." He's illiterate, but he's very world wise, and he's also a kind man. He really is. So Stannis sends letters to everyone because he got a letter from Ned Stark saying that Joffrey, Myrcella, and Tommen were the product of incest. Joffrey isn't the true king, and that Stannis is the heir to the Iron Throne. So Stannis is like, oh, wait until I tell everyone about this.
Yeah.
And he sends letters to everyone about it. So everyone knows about the Jaime Cersei thing. So he won't ally with his brother Renly because his brother Renly has his own competing claim to the throne. He wants to be king, despite not really having a strong claim. And he won't ally with Robb because Robb wants northern independence. And he's like, well, if I'm going to be king, I want everyone to be my subjects. So we're not going to do that. So in the Riverlands, where the Riverlands are.
Right there.
Yeah. God, isn't he sexy? Look at him.
I mean, I guess.
God, he's gorgeous. They show him shirtless a lot in this show. It's like, you know why they did. Okay. So Jaime, who is their prisoner, is interrogated about Bran because he admitted to Catelyn in the last season that he pushed him out the window. So they're like, why? And he's like, I'll never fucking tell you. It was my sister. So Robb sends, they find a Lannister scout and they send him back to King's Landing with peace terms, which are, we'll do a peace with you if you return my fucking sisters, if you return Ned Stark's remains, his dad's remains, and the North wants its independence. Also suck my dick. Signed, Robb.
Yeah.
So Theon has this great fucking idea. He's like, I grew up in Winterfell, but my father is the king of the Iron Islands, Balon Greyjoy.
Okay.
How about I go over to the Iron Islands and convince him to join the fight? And Robb's like, all right. Yeah, sounds like a pretty good idea. And then he sends Catelyn, his mother, to Storm's End to talk to Renly about an alliance.
Okay.
So Catelyn ends up here, and Theon ends up in the Iron Islands, which, by the way, I need to put Balon on here. Where are the Greyjoys? That's his father, Balon. Let me tell you, Chris, this guy's a huge cunt. So they have a little plan, right?
Yep.
In the Red Waste, things are real fucking bad for Daenerys Targaryen. She has a tiny little Khalasar. They are in this fucking desert, no food, no water, and they have no idea where they're going, and they're being chased by rival Khals.
Oh.
Because Khal Drogo is dead.
Yeah.
So the rival Khals are like, oh, we're going to go find Daenerys Targaryen, right? And probably fuck her because she's really pretty.
None of this sounds good for them.
Yeah. So they're going to starve. So she sends out scouts in 3 different directions to find food and shelter. All right. In the Riverlands, but a different spot in the Riverlands.
Mm-hmm.
I think, right? Oh, yeah. Arya and co are traveling north to the Wall. Or to Winterfell.
Yeah.
Well, they're going to drop Arya off at Winterfell if they're going to the Wall.
Yeah.
Okay. So Arya, while they're just kind of hanging out and they're like on their road trip, right?
Mm-hmm.
Arya sees a wagon of prisoners, because remember that a lot of the Night's Watch are just prisoners who are trying to escape their sentence, right? With this weird dude with long hair. And she's like, hey, who the fuck are you? And he's like, hey, my name's Jack and Hagar. And she's like, that's a weird fucking name. He's like, yeah, what do you do? You don't pick your name,
Mm-hmm.
And Arya, he's like, hey, I'm really thirsty. Can I have some water? And so Arya is kind to him and gives him some water. And he's like, that's fucking cool. Now, the Gold Cloaks show up with a warrant for Gendry because everyone's trying to find all of Robert's bastards.
Yeah.
And Yoren's like, he's a man of the Night's Watch now. your law doesn't apply to men of the Night's Watch. Once you're in the Night's Watch, you're untouchable by anyone, right? And so he intimidates, he browbeats him. He's like, get the fuck out of here. And the Gold Cloak's like, oh, I'll be back with some more guys. And he's like, I bet you fucking will. So Arya reveals her identity to Gendry. She's like, by the way, I'm Arya Stark. The reason is because she's pretending to be a boy. And Gendry notices she never pees in front of them. And it's like, you don't have a dick, do you? And she's like, no, I'm Arya Stark. I'm so sorry. And so she swears him to secrecy. And he's like, that's fine. So in King's Landing, Varys figures out that Tyrion has his girlfriend here.
Okay.
And gets a little implied threat. It's like, oh, it'd suck if other people found out about that. Rob's peace conditions are delivered. And they're like, okay, about that. We'll get back to that. So also they get a letter from the Night's Watch about dead people walking around in Castle Black.
Huh.
And
that seems like it'd be a little concerning.
Everyone laughs it off because they're like, oh, fucking Night's Watch, man. This is like, oh, that's all they ever do. So fucking, which by the way, so White Walkers are like the generals, ugly motherfuckers with long white hair and shit. Whites are their soldiers who are the undead, pretty much. So everyone laughs it off except for Tyrion, who is like, oh, actually, that
it seems like it could be a thing.
So Tyrion, the Hand of the King, has dinner with Janis Flint. And it's like, did you go and kill a bunch of literal children? And he's like, yeah, they fucking, I was ordered to. And he's like, I'm sending you to the wall. Fuck you. Who the fuck does that?
It's kind of fucked up.
Yeah.
Almost as if you were like part of a galactic empire that built a prison specifically for children.
Right. So he is now banished to the wall. Cersei is pissed because she likes him.
Because he, is willing to just murder children under her orders.
Yeah. It also turns out it wasn't Cersei's orders. It was Joffrey's.
Oh, even better.
So on Dragonstone, I really wish this would let me grab the map so I didn't have to keep scrolling out like this. Davos hires a pirate to fight for Stannis.
Okay.
So now they have a fleet of pirates. And later that night, Melisandre attempts to seduce Stannis, pulls out her tits.
Okay, yeah, like you do.
And it works.
Oh.
And he's like, you know what? Yeah.
Yeah. Let's fuck.
Yeah. And so they do. All right. The Iron Islands. Theon comes home to Pike.
Okay.
He's expecting a very warm welcome because he has not been there since he was a boy. There's no one there to welcome him. They all know he's coming. No one came to welcome him.
That seems a little ominous.
Yeah. And so a girl meets him.
A girl has a name?
Not yet.
Ah, okay.
And it's like, hey, I've got a horse. I'll take you over to the castle. So they have a horse ride to the castle, and about 10 minutes in, Theon gets horny and fingers her on the horse. Fucking hand in the pants.
A little weird.
Starts, and she's like, you know what? I'll allow it. So he meets his father, Balin, who is a huge ass. And so he walks into the throne room and he's like, oh, father, blah, 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 blah. And for some reason, this woman that he thinks is a servant is just hanging around in the throne room too. And Balin's like, he's like, why the fuck are you wearing a dress? Because Theon's got some nice clothes on and shit. He's got a nice necklace and stuff. And he's like, you look like a fucking woman. And like this girl like kind of laughs. And he turns around. He's like, why the fuck are you still here? And she's like, oh, I'm your sister. I'm your sister. Because she's like, you don't remember me? He's like, oh my God, Yara? She's like, yeah.
Ooh.
And then starts to remember what happened 30 minutes ago. And he's like, oh, for fuck's sake, you could have said something.
Please, it would have been very nice if you had said something.
Yeah. So they have this weird tradition, by the way.
Of fingering their siblings?
No. That's a Targaryen thing, mostly. Or a Jaime and Cersei thing.
Yeah.
So the Ironborn have this weird tradition where they only pay the iron price for something, which is to say they steal things.
Okay.
Right. So they don't pay for things. They pay the iron price, which means they conquer, rape, and pillage, and they take what they want.
Okay.
That's their whole culture, right? Theon hands Balin Rob's proposal about joining the war. Balin immediately is like, fuck off. No way in fuck I'm ever doing that. So in the Red Waste, so you see I'm flying through this?
All the way over here.
I'm making good time. Okay, Daenerys and everybody are in the middle of the desert, no food, no water. One of the scouts returns that she sent out holding his own head.
Oh.
And she's like, okay, well.
Not going that way.
Not sending him out again. So Craster's Keep with this motherfucker up here.
Mm-hmm.
So Ghost, let me find the picture I need for this.
Ghost, who is a good boy.
He is the goodest of boys. Where the fuck is G in the alphabet?
A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
G.
Gilly?
Yeah. Ghost walks up to this poor girl, one of Craster's daughter wives. That's a weird thing to say. And wants food. It's like any other fucking dog, like my dogs. Walks up to her, he's like, you got a steak or something, like literally anything. And she is terrified because Ghost is fucking huge. He's a monster, right? And he just wants some food.
Yeah.
And it terrifies her. And Sam shows up, and Sam knows Ghost, like they're buddies.
Yeah.
And so he's like, Ghost, fuck off. And stop scaring this poor girl. And so he meets this girl named Gilly. And they kind of start talking. Turns out she's pregnant, and she's terrified that it might be a boy.
Oh.
Because what happens to boys at Craster's Keep?
Nobody knows.
No
but
one knows,
any
but there aren't any boys at Craster's Keep. So Sam tells John that he wants to take Gilly with them. And John's like, what? What about what we're doing thinks that is okay? Which, by the way, Craster's like one rule is you can eat my food, you can drink my wine, but if any one of you touches any one of my daughter wives, you're fucking dead. That's like his big rule.
Yeah. Only
he can have the daughter wives, right? And so John's like, that breaks the rule.
Yeah, and like it's gonna fuck everything up.
Yeah. So he's like, no. Also, like we're men of the Night's Watch. We can't have wives. Like there are no women at Castle Black. Like we're men of the Night's Watch. Like, are you out of your fucking mind? And Sam's like, maybe I am. I don't know. So episode 3, what is dead may never die. Which
This is only episode 3?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll make it through. Don't worry. John, one of Craster's wives has a boy.
Oh.
And John sees Craster walk off into the woods with him. And so John's like, what the fuck is that all about?
I don't like where this is going.
So he follows him out into the woods and he watches as Craster puts the baby down and walks away. A couple minutes later, a motherfucking White Walker walks up, picks it up.
Oh.
And so John's like, yeah.
That's pretty fucked up.
So episode 3, what is dead may never die, which are the house words of the Ironborn or the Greyjoys. That's like their motto, right? But we're not there. We're at Craster's Keep. Sorry. That's just the name of the episode. Surprise. Craster saw John spying on him when he gave his kid away and is real pissed. He kicks the Night's Watch out. He's like, you guys suck. Get the fuck out. And Mormont is like, John, what the fuck? We talked about this. Like, and he's like, did you know about this? And Mormont's like, yeah. Yes, we fucking knew about it. And John is like, what the fuck, man? And he's like, he's too valuable. It is what it is. Remember the rule? So Sam promises Gilly, I'm going to move him around so we can see him, that he'll be back for her. He's like, I don't know how we're going to fucking do this, but I'll be back for you. Here's a thimble my mother gave me. And he gives her a thimble.
Okay.
And she's like, I have no idea what the fuck this is for. Which, by the way, all these girls are not educated. None of them can read. The only place they've ever been is Craster's Keep. It's a really terrible thing.
Yeah.
And so since they've been kicked out, since they've been evicted, they start their trek back to Castle Black. So in Winterfell, Bran is still having trippy dreams as Summer, and he tells Master Luwin about it. Master Luwin's like, don't worry about it. So in the Stormlands, Catelyn has arrived to treat with Renly Baratheon.
How's that going to go for her?
So she gets there and they're having a tournament because
Okay.
Renly is like, Renly wants to pretend to be king, but he doesn't necessarily want to do everything else,
Yeah.
right? So they're having a tournament, right? And so Loras fights this mysterious knight, big fucking knight that beats him. And they take their helmet off, and it ends up being Brienne of Tarth, played by Gwendolyn Christie.
Gwendolyn Christie.
Yes. And so Renly's like,
AKA
hey,
Captain Phasma.
yes. So Renly's like, hey, you beat my boyfriend. Name anything, and you can have it. She's like, I want to be on your Kingsguard. And he's like, done. Also, you find out that Renly is married to Loras' sister, Marjorie.
Technically.
Marjorie, yeah. And you know what's really funny is, as we'll learn, she understands the nature of their arrangement, right? So
She understands that she is the beard here.
yeah. So she visits him and is like, okay, I get it, right? But we need to produce children.
Yeah.
Like it's
Like if you're going to be king, you
Right.
kind of got to have an heir.
So they try. And Renly gives it the old college try. He really does, but he just can't get it up. And so she's like, do you want me to get my brother in here to help? And he's like, yeah.
Actually, that would help,
Yeah.
yes.
And so that's apparently what they do.
A little weird,
Yep.
but okay.
The Iron Islands. Balin is like, actually, I have another plan. We're going to attack the poorly defended north because Rob's down south. What do you say?
Theon's like, this is the exact opposite of what
Yeah.
I wanted, actually.
However, Theon needs, for some reason, out of nowhere, probably because he's home for the first time since he was a boy, feels the need for his father's approval. And so he's like, yeah.
All
And
right, sure. I guess
and
we're doing this.
So Theon's like, or Balin's like, cool, you're fucking Ironborn. And they have like a little baptism and shit. And so Theon has now officially betrayed Robb Stark and is going to be at Greyjoy now.
Okay.
In King's Landing, Tyrion figures out that someone is informing to Cersei. So he makes up a lie. And the big part of the lie is we're marrying Marcella, Cersei's daughter, off to someone
Okay.
for a political alliance. He tells 3 different stories to 3 different people. So to one person,
The old barium test.
yeah, so Marcella's going here or here and here. So he finds out that Grand Maester Pycelle is the liar or the informer. So he throws him in prison. And Cersei doesn't like that because it's their informant. Turns out that he was serious about the idea, though. They're going to marry Marcella off to the Prince of Dorne
Oh, okay.
for an alliance because Dorne is kind of like above the fray and shit.
Yeah.
Right? So Littlefinger is a little pissed that Tyrion lied to him about the story and shit. And
Tyrion's like, fuck off. I'm
Yes.
smarter than you.
well, Tyrion, to placate him, is like, I'm naming you envoy to Renly Baratheon. Oh, and your long lost love, Catelyn Stark, is down there. So why don't you get on the road? And he's like, gladly. So the Riverlands, that guy I was telling you about, the Gold
I
Cloaks.
feel like you have an entire legal pad for each season.
Not exactly, but close to it. That Gold Cloak comes back with a bunch of soldiers, right? He's got like a Lannister force, got gold cloaks. They're there to arrest Gendry.
He's like, now listen here, fuckheads.
Yeah.
We're taking that bastard, and there's nothing you can do to stop us.
There's a big fight, and Yoren dies.
Aw.
Gone. Dead.
Rip.
The cart that Jack and Hagar is in catches fire. And Arya walks past and he's like, hey, can you let me out,
Let
please?
me out. Be a pal.
Yeah, and so she does.
Good for her.
Now, one of the attacking soldiers sees the kids because they decimate this force, right? Yeah. He takes Arya's sword needle.
Like, I fucking hate kids.
Yeah. And he plans to take them to Harrenhal. And Arya convinces him that Lami is Gendry.
Okay.
Right? So there, like, Gendry's able to get away. At Oxcross.
Apparently they didn't pay attention to Ned Stark's black of hair revelation.
Yeah. At Oxcross, which is over here ish. Not exactly sure where it is.
Whatever.
It's somewhere in here.
It's probably one of those numbers.
Yeah. He has won another decisive victory against the Lannisters. And
good for Rob.
Yep. And then we meet his one of the big guys in his army, one of his bannermen, Roose Bolton.
Okay.
So he's from House Bolton, and he's like a general, right?
Sure.
So he wants to torture the POWs.
I mean, it's the medieval times.
Yeah.
We hadn't signed the Geneva Convention yet.
And Rob's like, no, we don't do that here. So after the battle, Rob notices a woman tending to the wounded.
A woman.
Yep. Let's see. I think she's in random because she's like a nobody. She's like a peasant.
Mm-hmm.
JRST. Named Talisa.
Okay.
Instantly falls in love. Oops, she's sideways. Instantly falls in love with her.
Aw.
Almost instantly. Now, that's the problem because you might remember that in the previous season, he made an agreement with Walder Frey to marry one of his daughters.
Well, nothing wrong with having a side piece.
Yeah. So at Harrenhal, okay, so these guys, so Arya, these guys go to Harrenhal. Jack and Hagar just disappears. And I can't remember where Gendry is. So these guys are at Harrenhal. They find out that the castle was badly burned 300 years ago from dragon fire during Aegon's conquest.
Interesting.
Now, do you remember what story is happening 300 years before this?
Would that happen to have been House of the Dragon?
Do you remember a character named Aegon?
I think I do, yes.
Yeah.
So okay.
the Lannister forces control Harrenhal. And it's under the command of Gregor Clegane, the mountain, right? So they're basically terrorizing people in the Riverlands. And they have a bunch of prisoners at Harrenhal that they're all torturing. Like they take a bucket and they put rats in it and they strap it to their stomachs and they put fire under it.
Oh, that's really gross.
It's real gross. Gendry is with them. It's just no one thinks he's Gendry. They think Lami is Gendry.
Yeah.
So just as they're about to torture Gendry, fucking Tywin Lannister shows up.
Oh yeah, that guy.
Yes. The Lord Commander of the Lannister army. The head fucking Lannister, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, everybody stop torturing. What the fuck is wrong with you guys? So he immediately notices the boy named Ari and is real interested.
Mm-hmm.
He immediately figures out that she's not a boy.
Sure.
He's like, you're a fucking girl. And so she's like, okay. So he's really impressed with her intelligence and he makes her his temporary cupbearer while he's there doing business. So in King's Landing, Joffrey is pissed about Rob's victory, right? And
I feel like Joffrey is just permanently pissed about everything.
Yes. So he has Sansa brought to the throne room in front of God and everybody and threatens her with a crossbow. Cersei steps in. It's like, stop terrorizing your poor, betrothed. And so he's like, you're right. I shouldn't hurt my betrothed. So he orders his Kingsguard, Meryn Trent, to strip her and beat her, which he does in front of the entire court.
It's pretty fucked up.
Sansa, the whole time, by the way, remains defiantly loyal to Joffrey, so he doesn't get the satisfaction. No one intervenes on her behalf out of fear.
As you would expect.
Tyrion walks in and it was like, what the fuck is going on here?
I did not tell you to do any of this.
So Tyrion and his bodyguard sellsword, Bronn, walk in and he's like, okay, knock this shit off. He covers Sansa up, who's like practically naked and beaten. He berates Joffrey in front of everyone. And Joffrey says, I am the king. I can do as I please. And Tyrion's like, well, that's what the Mad King thought. And then someone fucking killed him. So Meryn Trent tries to defend Joffrey. And he just starts talking. Tyrion turns to Bronn and says, if this man says another word, kill him. Against the Kingsguard. Fucking Bronn pulls out his like knife.
He's like, I thought you'd never asked.
He's ready to do it, right? And Meryn Trent shuts the fuck up. So Tyrion tells Sansa in private, he's like, look, I know Joffrey's a monster. He's a huge dick. And she parrots these lines about her duty to him and her love for him. And it's clear to Tyrion that she's putting on a facade. And Tyrion's like, you might actually make it out of this alive yet. Like, good for you. Like, you're figuring out how to play the game.
Yeah.
So Bronn thinks Joffrey needs to lose his virginity. He's like, he's just backed up.
Yeah.
Right?
He's just horny.
So they send a couple of prostitutes to visit Joffrey in his bedroom at night.
I can't imagine that ends well.
He gets him on the bed, gets his crossbow, points it at him, and forces them to brutally beat each other under the pain of death.
What the fuck is wrong with Joffrey?
Yeah. He's a little sadist. Now, Lancel Lannister visits Tyrion in the middle of the night.
What's this person's deal?
Well, he's a Lannister.
Like, where are they on the family tree?
He is Tyrion and Cersei's cousin.
Okay.
Shows up to Tyrion in the middle of the night with orders from Cersei to release Grandmaster Pycelle because he's still in prison, right? And Tyrion works out. He's like, wait, if you're bringing me a message from Cersei in the middle of the night, it means you were in her bedroom in the middle of the night.
Oh.
And he works out that they're fucking. And Lancel, who is like kind of young, immediately admits to it and is like, I'm so sorry. I'm so, blah, blah, blah. Please don't kill me. And he's like, I won't if you be my spy. You tell me everything about what Cersei's doing. I won't tell anyone. And he agrees to release Pycelle anyway. He's like, I was going to let him go. No, it doesn't matter. So in the Stormlands, Peter Baelish arrives and he has 3 conversations with the 3 following people. Renly, he tries to gain his trust. Tell him if he's like, look, if you don't march on King's Landing, maybe I'll help you take over from within. He goes to Marjorie Tyrell, his wife, and is like, look, I know Renly's gay. That's information I can use against you. What are you going to do for me? But she's like the antithetical to Sansa. Like, she knows how to play the game already, right? So she's able to sidestep it. And then he talks to Catelyn. And he opens up with, hey, I know your husband's dead. Do you want to fuck?
I cannot imagine that worked very well for him.
Yeah. So, by the way, she pulls a knife on him.
Good for Catelyn.
She's like, fuck off. So he's like, okay, I figured I might say that. By the way, I've come here with a gift from Tyrion Lannister. And he gives her a really nice chest that has Ned Stark's sword on top of it. And he's like, these are Ned's remains.
Oh.
And it's like it's a legitimate gift from Tyrion, who's like, sorry, man. And then he says,
is Tyrion the one person in this story who's not a huge dick?
One of the very few. And then he says, look, I talked to Tyrion. If you release Jaime, Tyrion will release Sansa and Arya. Because Catelyn doesn't know that Arya is not in King's Landing, right? So, like, Peter's kind of lying to her. Uh-oh. Fucking Stannis Baratheon shows up with Davos and Melisandre, right? And he's like, we're going to fight tomorrow. You need to knock this off because I don't want to kill you. And Renly's entire claim to the throne is no one likes you, Stannis, you're an asshole. Because like Stannis is an honorable man.
Yeah.
He's a brilliant military tactician. He's uncompromising in his honor, like his morals, right? But is cold and doesn't know how to be a human being with people and stuff. So Renly's like, no one likes you. You're an asshole. I should be king, right? And so Stannis is like, and they like bicker, like brothers, right? Catelyn steps in and is like, you fucking idiots. Like, do you understand? You're just being little boys right now. And like, there's a bigger problem happening here. You guys should be joining Robb, right? So Stannis is like, last chance. I'll let you be on my small council and I'll make you the heir until I have a boy. If you don't take that, I'm gonna attack tomorrow. And Renly's like, your army is tiny. I'm not scared. And I can't believe I ever loved you because you're a fucking dick. As they're leaving, Melisandre looks at Renly and she says, look on your sins, Lord Renly, for the night is dark and full of terrors.
Oh.
And Renly's like, what?
The fuck does that mean?
Yeah. And then they just leave. Later that night, fucking Melisandre walks up to Davos and is like, I need you to take me to this secluded cave that's close to the Renly camp.
Davos is like, absolutely.
Yeah, Davos is up here, I think. Yeah. He's like, okay, weird, but fine. So he takes her to this cave. They go in the cave and it's like adjacent to where the camp is and stuff. Melisandre sits down on the ground, strips naked, legs apart, gives birth to a smoke demon. Its claws pulls out of her and shit. Davos is like, what the fuck is happening?
What the actual fuck?
Yeah. And she gets up and walks away and she's like, I'm done. He's like, what?
Like, why did I need to be here for this?
So in the Red Waste, where Daenerys is, one of Daenerys' blood riders have returned and says he found a city called Karth, which is...
Oh, does this one have his head?
Yes.
Oh, good for him.
Yeah, he's still alive.
It's all the way down there.
Yeah.
There we go. Whee!
Okay, so he's like, I found the city called Karth, and they're open to receiving the Mother of Dragons, because they've heard of her, right? And it turns out that the area around Karth is known as the Garden of Bones, because the people that they turn away die, because they don't have there's nowhere else to go, there's no water and anything. They meet Karth, and they're met by a guy who is only called the Spice King. So they meet a guy named the Spice King, who is one of the governors.
He looks like an asshole.
He is. He doesn't deserve that thing, but he really is. So he walks out. They're at the gates. He walks out and he's like, I'll let you in. We'll feed and refresh you, but I want to see those dragons first.
Okay, fair.
And Daenerys is like, no, we get in, we get some food and water, then I show you the dragons. And the Spice King is like, nope, not what I said. See you later. Enjoy dying.
Yeah.
So this other guy, one of the other governors of Karth, called Daxos, is like, you know what? Daenerys is real hot. I vouch for her. She can come in.
Okay, fair.
The Spice King is like, man, fuck you. Okay, now, in the Stormlands,
You lost all your people, I think.
Hold on a second.
Oh, there. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I thought happened. Okay. In the Stormlands, Renly is hanging out in his tent with his new Kingsguard Brienne. A shadow monster shows up with Stannis' face, walks up behind Renly, stabs him through the fucking heart.
Oh.
Renly is fucking dead.
Bye.
See ya, Renly. By the way, Brienne is blamed, and so she gets the fuck out. But Catelyn is in the tent with them, so she's like, you know what? I'm coming with you.
Understandable.
So Davos confronts Stannis, and he's like, I just watched that bitch give birth to a monster.
Give birth to a shadow monster, which then went off and stabbed your brother.
I know that's blood magic, and that's fucked up. And Stannis is like, you know what? You're right. I'm putting you in command of the Navy. And he's like, but that does not resolve the issue at hand.
Yeah.
And he's like, doesn't matter. We're going to King's Landing. And he's like, all right then.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess we're going.
So in King's Landing, Tyrion tells Cersei about Renly's death. She's stoked because that's one fewer, and usurpers. Tyrion warns that now, with one of his big rivals off the board, an attack is imminent on King's Landing. Tyrion learns from his spy, Lancel, the kissing cousin, that Cersei has been meeting with the Alchemists Guild about Stannis' attack. He doesn't know why. So Tyrion visits them.
Maybe for some sort of fire?
Yes.
Because he showed me the one where a whole bunch of shit goes down in King's Landing and Joffrey jumps off the balcony.
No, it's a different thing entirely. No, that wasn't Joffrey. That was Tommen. So he learns that there's a massive stockpile of wildfire, which is it's like medieval napalm, but like worse, like way more explosive.
Magical napalm.
Yeah. So at Lord's Port, Theon is given command of one ship to start this thing, this attack. His sister gets like a whole fleet. He gets one ship because Balon's like, fuck you.
Fuck him.
Yeah. So his men are insubordinate because he needs to prove himself. So Theon's plan is to lure the remaining Winterfell forces out, which works.
Okay.
Which ends up working. At Winterfell, Bran's doing a pretty good job.
For being 10 years old and in charge of an entire castle.
Yeah. Also, this is up this way. So he starts having this weird dream about a three-eyed raven.
Always with the fucking dreams.
Yeah. He also dreams of a sea flooding Winterfell and killing one of their guys. So at Harrenhal...
That's where those guys are.
Yeah. Tywin has a war council, and Arya serves as his cupbearer. So she's like hanging around, pouring wine and shit. Arya leaves to fetch water and runs into Jaqen H'ghar.
Oh.
Who is now dressed as a Lannister soldier.
Huh.
And she's like, what the fuck is with you? Yeah. Like, what is your deal?
What is your deal?
And he's like, I'll never tell. So he's like, look, I and two other guys were in that cart that was on fire, and you saved me. So there's an imbalance here. 3 people were supposed to die. 3 people lived. So I will give you 3 lives, which is to say, you name 3 names,
and I will kill them.
I will kill them. And Arya's like, she immediately names one of the torturers at Harrenhal, called the Tickler. It's really weird. Like a little bit later, he's found dead. His head is twisted 180 degrees on his body. Right? Arya sees the body and looks up, and on the rampart of the castle, Jaqen H'ghar is standing there, like winks at her. She's like, "What the fuck, dude?"
He's like, "Yeah, I did that."
Yeah. So, up north. Mormonts and these guys go to the I'm going to move him down here. The Fist of the First Men.
The fuck does that mean?
It's just a landmark. The First Men were the first humans that came to Westeros.
Okay.
This guy is there with him, I think. Ghost is there. Sam's there, but not Gilly. Because he's going to come back
Right.
apparently.
Supposedly.
Down there. Jor meets with a Night's Watch scout, and the scout is like, the wildlings are way more organized under Mance Raider than we thought. And so Jor's like, okay, we're going to split up and attack wildling lookouts. So the two groups are going to be John and then Jor and like Samwell and these guys, right?
Okay.
And like John's gonna have other guys with him, but we don't know.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who they are.
They're red shirts.
Yeah. So in Karth, Daenerys teaches Drogon how to breathe fire by saying a word. Do you remember what the word is?
I don't think I do.
From House of the Dragon?
Nope.
Dracarys
Dracarys.
means breathe fire.
Okay.
So she's like there as a guest of this guy. And she meets this really weird warlock called Pyat Pri.
I think all warlocks are kind of weird.
Yeah,
although that guy definitely worked.
He's real weird, and his lips are always stained blue because like he's addicted to this like psychedelic drug that he drinks or whatever.
Okay.
And he does like a parlor trick magic thing for her, like where like there are a bunch of him, and and she's very impressed by it. And he's like, "You should come visit me at the House of the Undying." And she's like, "That sounds fucking awful. I don't think I will." So Daxos is like, "Girl, I will bankroll your invasion of Westeros if you marry me."
Okay.
And that's when she finds out that Jorah is in love with her.
Oh, that's awkward.
Because Jorah's like, "God damn it."
Fuck.
Also, don't do that. Even if I weren't in love with you, don't do that anyway. That's probably a bad idea. At Winterfell, Winterfell's undefended now because of Theon's plan.
Mm-hmm.
And so Theon easily captures Winterfell.
That's not good.
Nope. Remember, this is his brother.
Yeah.
Functionally.
Mm-hmm. He's being a real huge dick right
now. So Theon tells Bran to surrender. He does. One of their guys spits in Theon's face, so Theon brutally beheads him. Takes him several hacks to do it, which was the guy that he saw in his dream. That night, Osha finds Bran, Rickon, and Hodor and the wolves and smuggles them out. In the Westerlands, Catelyn arrives back at Rob's camp with Brienne.
Okay.
Rob introduces Mom to his new girlfriend, Talisa, who he has fallen in love with.
It's a little inconvenient.
Yep. And then Rob finds out about Theon and Winterfell, and Rob comes unglued. He's like, "What the fuck?" So Roose Bolton is ordered this guy. Roose Bolton is ordered to go back and recapture Winterfell. And he's like, I'll be up there in a second. I'm gonna kill that motherfucker myself. So keep him alive. Yeah. At Harrenhal, Tywin likes Arya. He has no idea who she is, but
I like your moxie, kid.
Yeah, because she's smart and she can read and shit. And he's like, there's something about you that I really respect.
You got potential. Yeah. You're gonna go far. Littlefinger
shows up.
This motherfucker.
Because remember, everything over here just kind of fell apart because Renly died, right?
Yeah.
So Littlefinger shows up.
Wait a minute, I know you. You're Arya Stark.
Yeah. And he gives Tywin an update because he's been working for Tywin the whole time. He's like, Renly's dead. the Tyrells haven't joined Stannis because Loras, Renly's boyfriend, is a Tyrell. So they won't join Stannis because he was loyal to Renly. And the Tyrells are back or have retreated back home. While they're talking, Arya steals a letter about her brother Robb, but she's caught by a soldier. And the soldier's like, "What the fuck are you doing with this like military intelligence?"
Mm-hmm.
"I'm gonna go tell Tywin." She escapes. She runs to Jack and Hagar, and she gives the guy his name. And the dude, like, the next shot is like the dude walking into the room to give the letter to Tywin, falls over dead with a poison dart. King's Landing. Joffrey and the family. God damn it. Joffrey and the family see Marcella off. She's going to go to Dorne, and she's going to go marry Prince Trystane. Cersei is fucking pissed about this, by the way. By the way, the citizens of King's Landing are all starving. Cersei doesn't care. Joffrey.
You tell me Joffrey is a bad ruler?
Yeah, Joffrey doesn't give a single fuck, right? As they're returning home from this, a peasant throws a pile of cow shit in Joffrey's face. Joffrey, ever the man of the proportional response, orders that the entire crowd be executed. And so they riot. There's bedlam. That the royal family barely escapes. Sansa is almost assaulted, like badly assaulted. Yeah. But Sandor Clegane rescues her. Like puts her over his shoulder and is like, "We're getting out of here." So Tyrion gets back to the castle, pissed at Joffrey, and like he's berating him in front of everyone. Joffrey's like, "You can't talk to me like this. I'm the king." Fucking Tyrion, full hand, smacks him right in the face. And it's like, "Sit the fuck down." And Joffrey's like, "Ow." So beyond the wall, Jon's group encounters a wildling group, and they fight them, right? Everyone is killed except for a redheaded. All the wildlings are killed, except for a redheaded woman called Ygritte. So Jon's up here. They fight the wildlings. She's probably in my free folk folder. Meets Ygritte. You might notice Ygritte's real pretty.
Yeah.
Right? So Jon is ordered to execute her, and he hesitates, and she gets off. She gets away. So Jon chases her. He catches her, but they've wandered too far from the camp, so they have to camp there for the night. Right? And they're going to join their friends the next day. In Karth, Dany does not want to marry Daxos.
Okay.
She doesn't really want to marry anybody. Right?
Fair enough.
She has dragons. She doesn't have time for that.
She is a single mother of 3.
Yeah. So she tries to convince the Spice King to invest. And he's like, fuck no. Sorry. When she gets back to her quarters, her guards are dead and her dragons are missing.
Oh.
And she looks out the window and she sees a hooded figure running toward the House of the Undying with a box full of dragons. He's like, "They're mine now." Okay. At Winterfell. So the Ironborn control Winterfell now, right? Mainly Theon. Theon finds out that Bran is missing. Bran and Rickon are missing. They search for them. They find a shepherd's farm that the hounds lead them to, but they lose the scent. And Theon's like, "Wait, I know where they are." Theon returns. He calls everyone to the courtyard, and he has strung up on the gates 2 terribly burned little boys, dead little boys. And he's like, "This is what happens when you're not loyal." And he hoists their bodies up, and you're to believe that Bran and Rickon are badly burned and dead. It turns out they're not. King's Landing. Sansa thanks Sandor for saving him. To her. Excuse me. One morning she wakes up and she's had her first menstrual cycle.
Okay.
Which is a big deal because it means that she can have babies now. Which means that she will be expected to have babies with Joffrey. That's not good, right? So, oh, by the way, you remember Tyrion's girlfriend, Shay?
Yeah.
They find her a job in the castle so they can keep her around, and
Okay.
she's Sansa's handmaiden, right?
Cool.
Like they try to destroy the sheets, like the evidence that she,
Yeah.
And Sandor Clegane like walks him on them doing it. He realizes what happened, and he's like, "Shit!" And so he has to tell Cersei. So he tells Cersei. Cersei and Sansa sit down to have like the talk, right, about childbearing and duty and all that other shit. Then Cersei and Tyrion have this rare moment because Jaime's a prisoner of war. She hasn't seen him in forever. It really bothered. I mean, they really are in love with each other,
yeah.
right? And she has this conversation with Tyrion, and Cersei's like, I wonder if Joffrey is the way he is because of me and Jaime, because of our sin, right? And Tyrion points out that her other two kids are perfectly normal. And so in a rare moment, he comforts her. It's just this weird, like, nice little moment between them, right? I think it's the only time it happens. In the Westerlands, Cersei has written back to Robb about his peace terms, and she's like, fuck you, Cersei, right?
Yeah.
So Robb throws Jaime in a cell with another Lannister guy that ends up being his cousin. They barely know each other.
Yeah.
That night, Jaime kills his cousin to trick the guard to come check on him, and then kills the guard and then escapes and then is recaptured, right? The father of the guard that died demands his execution. Catelyn is like, we can't kill him. That's the only way we're going to get Sansa and Arya back.
Mm-hmm.
Beyond the Wall, Jon and Ygritte have to sleep in close proximity to one another. The next morning they wake up, and she is like, is that a flashlight, or are you happy to see me? It's like one of those things, right? And she makes fun of Jon because of his sexual inexperience, and he gets all flustered, and then she escapes again. He's like, God damn it. In Karth, so Daxos is like pretending to be on Daenerys' side, right? Because he's trying to get married.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, look, she's fucking pretty.
Yeah.
Right? But it turns out he's actually in an alliance with the Warlock, and they execute all of the other leaders of the city. And so now Daxos is the king of the city.
Oh, okay.
And the Warlock is the one that stole the dragons. And so he tells Dany, hey, I have them at the House of the Undying. You should come and see me at the House of the Undying. She's like, still, that sounds fucking awful.
Sounds like a really bad idea.
The reveal at the end is that Bran and Rickon are still alive.
Okay.
And that the murdered boys were the Shepherd's boys. Beyond the Wall, Ygritte kind of leads Jon along to get captured by wildlings. And so he's brought before the Lord of Bones. He's just a wildling with a lot of bones on him, right? They've already captured another man of the Night's Watch who's a friend of Jon's. And they order Jon's death.
How many more pages do you have, just out of curiosity?
2.
Okay.
So Ygritte is like, please don't kill Jon. He's prettier than any woman I've ever seen in my life, right? Also, he has dark blood. That could be relevant. And Jon's friend has this plan. He's like, you're going to kill me. And because either both of us die or one of us die, right? So you kill me and then ask to join the wildlings and you be a spy for the Night's Watch. And Jon's like, that's a terrible idea. And he's like, I know, it's the North. Everything is weird up here.
It's all we got.
Meanwhile, Sam and Jayor and those guys in the other group discover a crate out in the middle of nowhere of dragon glass weapons. They're like, what the fuck are these for?
Yeah.
So they're worried that Jon hasn't rejoined them yet. And Sam's like, there's no way he's dead. I refuse to believe he's dead. In Karth, Mormont is like, we need to abandon the dragons and get the fuck out of here. Like, this is crazy. And
Daenerys is like, no, I'm a single mother of 3.
Yeah.
I'm not abandoning my children.
Daenerys is like, oh, hell no. Like, there's no way. So she goes to the House of the Undying.
Also, my children are WMDs, so I'm not abandoning them anyway.
Well, not yet. They're just little babies. Like
they're baby WMDs.
Okay. Blackwater Bay, which I don't think is a location you know about yet. But
I don't think so.
It's a part of King's Landing. actually a better. So this is King's Landing, right?
Okay.
This is Blackwater. This is the Red Keep and where the castle is.
Okay.
This is the Dragon Pit.
Which is notably devoid of dragons nowadays.
Well, actually, this is in Game of Thrones. This is just ruins.
Okay.
This is Blackwater Bay. Okay.
Mhm.
Stannis' fleet is headed toward Blackwater Bay. He is going to attack. On the eve of their attack, he offers Davos the position of Hand of the King. In King's Landing, Tyrion is trying to figure out how to defend the city because no one else seems to care, right?
Yeah.
So, and Joffrey is running around being an asshole, like, oh, I'm going to fight with the troops and I'm going to be up on the, and
no, you're not.
Yeah. At Harrenhal, Tywin has to make a hard decision. He can fight Robb, or he can come to King's Landing and help them fight Stannis. He decides to go to King's Landing because it's a family.
Yeah.
He leaves Arya at Harrenhal and leaves the Mountain in charge. Arya asks Jack and Hagar to help them escape. And he's like, I don't want to do that. And she's like, fine. The other person I name is you. And he's like, God damn it.
Fuck. Fine.
Yeah, he's like, okay, take it back. And she's like, okay, but help us. And he's like, okay, fine. So he's like, listen, just walk out the front gate at midnight. And she's like,
that doesn't seem like it'd work.
what are you talking about? And he's like, just fucking do it. And he disappears. Like, ooh, right? So they're suspicious, but they don't have a choice.
Yeah.
So they do as he says. They walk out at midnight. As they're walking out, they notice that all the guards appear to be standing watch.
Mm-hmm.
As they get closer, they're all dead. Right?
I like this Jack and Hagar fellow.
And so they tiptoe out and they're like, all right, see you later.
Bye.
Yeah. So the Westerlands, Catelyn agrees to secretly free Jaime if he promises to free Sansa and Arya, which he does. He's like, by my honor, I'll do it.
Absolutely.
And so she sends Brienne of Tarth with him as an escort. And Robb's relationship with his new girlfriend, Talisa, is intensifying, and he's definitely broken his promise to Walder Frey. Okay. Blackwater Bay.
Where I
King's
presume
Landing.
shit is getting real.
Yeah, King's Landing. Tyrion is in charge of the defense of King's Landing.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much because no one else.
By default.
Yeah. Stannis should be attacking it literally any second. He should show up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tyrion asks Varys for a map of the tunnel network under the city. So this is Stannis's plan here. What's Stannis' last name? Baratheon. What does Stannis look like? There he is. And then we're gonna put Davos in here too because he's in charge of the Navy. Okay. So the plan is the Navy comes in and Stannis leads a ground force at the Mud Gate, which is the river gate.
Okay.
And this is where they attack, right? And they get in and take over the city.
Yeah.
The fleet gets there. The Crown's forces are all in the battlements. Everyone's standing up there with their archers and shit.
Mm-hmm.
Joffrey's up there with his shiny, never used armor, and he is just strutting around like a fucking peacock. He's just absolutely insufferable. So they don't know where he is yet. Here comes Stannis' fleet of ships.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of fucking ships.
Yeah.
And Joffrey is like, Tyrion, why aren't we sending our boats out? Like, why aren't we like, you fucking idiot, what are we doing? Tyrion just ignores him. He's like, shut up, you cunt. As the fleet nears, they notice one boat. Davos notices one Lannister boat sailing toward them. And it like breaks the front lines of the Navy and just kind of like wanders into their formation, right? Davos notices that the water behind the boat is glowing green.
Oh.
Looks over at the boat. There's no crew on the boat, just barrels of wildfire. Tyrion gives his buddy Bronn the signal. Bronn takes a fire arrow, shoots the fucking boat, explodes. The whole fleet's done. It's like they hit it with a Patriot missile. It just takes up the whole fucking fleet, right? Davos survives, but his son, who's a part of this, dies.
Oh.
So he gets blown up.
Whee!
Okay. So Stannis is like, you know what? Fuck it, we're doing it.
That didn't go so well, but we can still make this work.
So he takes his force to the river gate. And Stannis, by the way, is personally leading the charge in front of all of his men, fucking sword out.
Yeah.
Right. And like everything that Joffrey thinks he is, Stannis is fucking doing it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Tyrion commands Sandor Clegane, the Hound, to take a force out to repel them. And they go out there, all hell breaks loose. There's a lot of fighting. Sandor is surrounded by fire now because everything is exploding. Now, you might have noticed that Sandor's face is kind of fucked up. Did you notice that?
I don't think I did.
Come on, you bitch, zoom. You'll notice you can't tell too much here. He's got a lot of scarring here, and he's has hair missing, right?
Yeah.
That's because when he was a kid, his brother, the Mountain, after he allegedly stole one of the Mountain's toys, took his head and shoved it into a fire and burned the side of his face. Yeah. So
very nice.
He is very afraid of fire. Everything's on fire around him. And everyone's like, Sandor, you got to for the king.
It's like, no, I don't think I will.
Sandor says the following: fuck the king's guard, fuck the city, fuck the king, and just fucks off. And everyone's like,
the fuck, man?
Yeah. Now, Cersei and the women are like hiding in the holdfast, right?
Yeah.
And they have a guy with them that's going to kill them if Stannis breaches, so that they're not like raped or whatever.
Yeah.
Like it's this really weird thing. Word comes out that Stannis has breached the walls of King's Landing. He's doing very well.
Mm-hmm.
And so Cersei's like, go get Joffrey for me and bring him here, please. I need to talk to him. So they go and get Joffrey. So like someone comes up and is like, your mom wants to see you. And Joffrey notices they're all like coming in and like they're about to be surrounded. He's like, oh yeah, I better go see what my mom wants.
Yeah.
And then like fucks off, which obliterates the morale of the troops, right? So Tyrion realizes it's up to him.
Yeah.
This fucking 3-foot man, everyone has been making fun of him his entire life for being a small person, fucking picks up an axe, turns to his men and says, those are brave men knocking at our door. Let's go kill them. And it works for the morale. Everyone's like, oh, fucking yeah. He leads them through the tunnel system to flank the Stannis position. And they attack. And they do really well. While the battle's happening, he turns around and a member of the King's Guard is walking toward him. It's like, we're buddies.
Yeah.
Right?
Huh?
And the dude slashes at him with a sword.
Oh, fuck.
Cuts him across the face, and he just falls over and loses consciousness.
Yeah.
And then his squire, Podrick Payne, Tyrion's squire, kills the Kingsguard guy.
Mm-hmm.
In the confusion, Sansa escapes to her room to find that Sandor Clegane is just sitting there on her couch. He's just hanging out.
Yeah. Just chilling.
And she's like, what the fuck?
Shouldn't you be out there fighting or something?
Yeah. And he's like, you might not have heard me out there, but fuck the king is the gist of it.
Yeah.
And he's like, I am out of here. This whole thing is fucked. I'm tired of being here.
Do you want to go with me?
Come with me. I will take you to Winterfell.
Come with me if you want to live.
I'll take you back to your mother. And Sansa is like, nope, I'm in this now. Like,
in it to win.
Yep. And he's like, you fucking idiot. I'll see you later.
Or maybe I won't.
Cersei takes her baby Tommen, the youngest of the kids, to the
Dear
throne,
sweet baby Tommen.
to the throne room. They both sit on the Iron Throne, and she has a little vial of poison that she plans to give to Tommen and then take herself instead of surrendering, right?
Yeah.
And she fucking gets the poison ready. Outside, there's a cavalry charge of sudden reinforcements that no one knows where they're from, right? They cut through the Stannis forces, and they are led by someone dressed in Renly Baratheon's armor. So Cersei is on the throne with her kid and hears people coming in. Assumes it's Stannis.
Yeah.
Fucking gets her poison ready. Just as she's about to give it to Tom, and the fucking door bursts open, and it's her father.
Oh.
And Loras Tyrell, Renly's boyfriend, who is wearing Renly's armor.
Yeah.
So the Lannisters and the Tyrells have forged an alliance, and they've won the battle. Stannis is dragged kicking and screaming back to Blackwater or Dragonstone. He's like, "Fucking fight, you cowards, motherfucking women." So, thus ends the Battle of Blackwater. In King's Landing, since Tywin is there, Tyrion is no longer Hand of the King. And Bronn is no longer the City Watch captain, because after he sends the one guy to the wall, he makes Bronn the City Watch captain.
Yeah.
Because he's his buddy. You know?
Sure.
So Tywin's the Hand of the King. Tyrion convinces Cersei, or Tyrion is convinced that Cersei tried to have him killed, and that's why that guy attacked her on the beach. Littlefinger is given Harrenhal for brokering the alliance between the Tyrells and the Lannisters. And Loras appears before Joffrey at court and asks him to marry his sister Marjorie, who was married to Renly. And Joffrey puts on a big show because he looks over at Marjorie. Marjorie's hot. I mean, she really is, right? He puts on a big show. He's like, "Well, but my betrothal to my dear Sansa, blah, 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 blah." And Grandmaster Pycelle's like, "Actually, we've been talking about that. And since her father was a traitor and she has traitor's blood, that annuls your betrothal."
Oh, okay.
And Joffrey's like, "Great.
Cool.
Yeah, I'll marry Marjorie now."
Sure.
On the inside, Sansa's like, "Yes." Yeah, she is fucking thrilled. We're going to do this season tonight. I think be done.
Okay.
On Dragonstone, I don't know how long this will take us now. It'll take us eight of these, I think, to get through it. So when we get close to the week before House of the Dragon, we'll do House of the Dragon, then we'll continue these. On Dragonstone, Stannis has retreated back home. And it turns out that Melisandre has been having visions, right? And is convinced that he's the chosen one or whatever. Well, it turns out that her visions were incorrect.
Oh.
Because Stannis lost the fucking battle.
Huh. Imagine that.
Yeah. And Stannis is like, "Your visions fucking suck."
Yeah.
And she's like, "What?" She's like, "Well, I only get glimpses." And he's like, "That's real fucking convenient." So Melisandre is still convinced that he's the prince that was promised. And she's like, "Here, I'll prove it to you. Look into the fire." And he looks into the fire. And at first you're like, what the fuck is he going to see in the fire? And you don't see what's in the fire. You only see Stannis' reaction. But he is clearly captivated by something and is enchanted by it, right? It looks into the fire and he looks like he has a vision. In the Westerlands, Robb is fully committed to this girl, and is like, "My official stance on the Walder Frey agreement is that I don't care." Jaime and Brienne are traveling to King's Landing. And turns out that Brienne's a really good fighter, by the way. They're attacked by bandits.
Yeah.
And she does most of them. She's a very, very good fighter. In Winterfell. Where's Winterfell?
North.
It's way up here. Yeah. Nope.
Too far.
So I told you that Robb sent Roose Bolton up to deal with this, right? So Roose Bolton's men now have Winterfell under siege. Theon's men betray him and knock him out. and then they kill Master Lewin.
Oh, okay.
Or they stab him, like in the gut.
Yeah.
Right. Bran and Rickon and these guys who have been hiding in the crypts the whole time sneak out and they find Lewin in the Godswood. And they have a talk, and Maester Lewin's like, look, you need to go to the wall, find Jon, and you'll be safe there. And like, he has the kids leave, and then he asks Osha to give him a quick death because he was stabbed in the gut. It's going to take him a long time to die. So she stabs him in the heart.
Okay. Bye.
So, Lewin, fucking dead.
Fucking dead.
See you later, man. He was really nice too. That sucks. So in the Riverlands.
You said you had like 2 pages left 5 pages ago.
I might have meant 8 to 10. That's why we're only doing this season.
Yeah.
Okay. So the Riverlands. This is great because now I don't have to do this next week. And I can focus on
Tales of the Empire.
Tales of the Empire, yeah. In the Riverlands. Up here. Arya, Gendry, and Popeye are now traveling away from Winterfell. Or Harrenhal.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then they run into Jack and Hagar.
Love that guy.
He just kind of appears.
Yeah.
And he pulls Arya aside. And he's like, you need to come with me to Bravos. And she's like, why? And he's like, I have this feeling you could be really, really good at killing people. And I will teach you how to do it.
She's like, yes, this does sound interesting, actually.
She says no.
Oh.
She says, I have to go back to my family. And Jack and Hagar is like, okay. So he gives her an iron coin. And he says, give this coin to any man from Bravos if you need to find me. And you say the words, Valar Morghulis. And Arya like looks at the coin and is like, Valar Morghulis. Okay. I can remember that.
Valar Morghulis.
Looks up at him. Jack and Hagar has an entirely different face.
Ugh.
A different man altogether. And she's like,
the fuck, man?
What is going on? And he just like walks away, like gives her an over the shoulder wink. An entirely different guy.
Mm-hmm.
And she's just like, I must be high on something.
Huh?
Yeah. And so he just fucks off.
Yeah.
Okay. So in Karth, Dany is making her way through the House of the Undying, which is like a weird temple for the warlocks or whatever, right? She walks through a door and has a vision. Parts of her vision.
A lot of visions in this show.
Yes. One of her visions is her in the the throne room, which is in ruins.
Mm-hmm.
Like the ceiling's fucking gone. There's snow falling in from the outside. She has a quick vision. I think this is a part of her vision of a silhouette of a dragon flying over King's Landing. And then she finds a tent. She goes in the tent, and it's her late husband, Khal Drogo, and their baby boy, who has been born. And remember that while that whole thing started off really weird, Daenerys fell in love with him.
Yeah.
And it was serious.
Mm-hmm.
And she wanted to have that fucking kid, right? And just for a second, she can't believe what she's seeing, and she thinks it's real, and then she realizes that it's not. And that realization devastates her, but she realizes that she has to leave. And so she leaves him there. So she walks into this room and finds her dragons chained to a pedestal. And they're sitting there on this pedestal with collars and chains, and they see Daenerys, and they're really happy. They're like, "Hey, mom's here." So the warlock shows up, and he's like, "Look, I'm going to be real honest with you about what's happening here. Somehow, when you showed up, you and your dragons enhanced my magic. I don't get it. I didn't realize this was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Here's an idea. Why don't you stay here with me forever so that I can have cool magic?"
Yeah.
Jacaerys, Daenerys turns to him with this fucking bored look on her face, looks over at her dragons, looks back at him, and says the word Dracarys. Drogon just fucking lights him up with fire. So now there's a warlock running around on fire, right?
Yeah.
And then he dies. So this guy, remember,
He's dead.
yeah, Daxos killed him. So he is burnt to death. And now there's Daxos.
Mm-hmm.
So she gets out. She has her babies with her now, right? Oh, this is Drogon's first kill, by the way.
Oh.
It's so adorable.
Good for Drogon.
So Daenerys finds Daxos. And she's like, you betrayed me, you motherfucker. So she takes him to their big underground vault that's supposed to have all their riches in it. Like their big safe. Opens the door, it's empty, by the way. So she's like, you didn't even have any fucking money. What the fuck? So she puts him in there, closes the door and locks it. And she's like, we're leaving. Fucking leaves him there.
There was nothing of value here.
Yep. Beyond the wall, John's friend who had the plan enacts the plan.
Okay.
So they have a fight and John kills him. And the free folk appear to buy it. And he's like, so they cut him free. And John's like, I want to be a free dude. And Egret's like, we're going to take you to see the king beyond the wall. And we'll sort this out later.
Mm-hmm.
So the Fists of the First Men.
All the fucking way on the other side of the world from here.
Yes. Did I tell you about the horn signals at Castle Black?
No.
So they got a guy that sits up on the wall and blows a horn.
Okay.
Big fucking horn.
Yeah.
And they have like a code. So it is one blow for Rangers returning.
Okay.
So when they see a man on the Night's Watch coming back, they blow the horn once. 2 horns for wildlings, which usually means, A, we're probably under attack. 3 horns for White Walkers.
Okay.
Which has not been used at the wall
in a very long time.
Thousands of years. So they're up here, the Fists of the First Man. And they've got their horn guy with them, right? And so they're like hanging out. They're foraging for food and shit. And then they hear 3 horn blasts.
Oh.
And everyone's like, why did he do it 3 times? And Sam, who is a bookworm and knows everything, is like, that means White Walkers.
We should be concerned.
Everyone runs. Just fucking scatters, right? Sam is left behind and is caught in a sudden fucking out of nowhere blizzard. He finds because remember, Sam is not a fighter.
Right.
He finds a rock to hide behind. And as he's getting settled into his hiding spot, a army of dead whites and White Walkers walk past him. Hundreds of them just walking past. And one of the White Walkers, like on his dead horse, like he looks over at Sam. It doesn't even bother killing him and just keeps marching. And it's terrifying.
It's concerning.
And Sam's like, I shit my pants. And that's how season 2 ends. So apparently the White Walkers who were coming from
way the fuck up there.
Yeah. No one really knows where they come from. It's got to be somewhere here or further, right?
Yeah.
They've made their way as far as here, right?
It's concerning.
It is concerning. Now, as you will learn as we get further into the show, there's a geography problem in this show later on where the showrunners kind of yada yada
distances are only as long as the writers need them
right
to be.
So in one episode Daenerys is in Dragonstone, which is here, right?
Yeah, also,
and a few minutes later shows up over here. It's crazy, right? Like this is an insane distance, and she gets there within like a couple hours or something. And I get that dragons are fast, but they're not that fucking fast. And there's another one where she is in Dragonstone and ends up. This one's a little more believable. Where is, let's see, where are the Tyrells from? They're from Highgarden. Do you see Highgarden on here?
No, it might be further
I
south.
think it is. I think that is a more southern.
Highgarden.
Highgarden. Yeah. Okay. So she ends up from Dragonstone up here to here within an hour or a couple of hours. Like it's just insane. But it's one of those things where like, okay, we need this story to happen. Like we got to pick this shit up. So like we have to be able to like teleport places. All right. That is season 2. I'm going to have to change the thumbnail on this because I put seasons 2 and 3 on the thumbnail.
Oh, wow.
That's fine. It's not a big deal. We'll be back next week with season 3, which is Game of Thrones' most notorious season.
I'm guessing a lot of people die.
There's an event in that season that was so shocking to the world that like the first couple seasons on HBO, like people started watching the show, people were into it, but it hadn't become a pop culture phenomenon yet. And then season 3 happens, and then the penultimate episode happens, and it is so notorious and upsetting that the whole world freaked out and everyone started watching Game of Thrones. That's my dog telling me it's time for me to be done. So we'll be back next Wednesday with season 3. It'll be a blast. We hope you can join us. And we'll also have our live show next week where we'll talk about Tales of the Empire. So that'll be cool too. So thanks for joining us. And we'll see you next week.
I would wave goodbye, but I'm busy petting a dog.
Oh, look at him. I wish I had dire wolves. Anyway, bye.